All right, let's get your reaction to this development now. Bringing our guest, the founder of Indonsa YeSizwe, Professor Musa Xulu, who also speaks on other aspects in the academic space, culture, and in religion. Professor Xulu joining us now via our video link. It's great to have you on the program as always. Prof, thanks very much indeed for making time. You know, and Tandomyando in that report began by saying it was an unexpected announcement, echoing the sentiments of several other people who've spoken about this. Were you also as taken aback, especially because he was right? You know, there was speculation that Thulasizwe Buthelezi, the son of the late Mangosuthu Buthelezi, was the one for the job.
Well, thank you, Ayanda. Thank you, and good morning to you guys. It was a very unexpected announcement, but the king has a tendency to make extremely unexpected announcements. You must remember with the debate around Ingulama Trust and how it went and how it ended. It came from nowhere, ended up almost destroying the Zulu kingdom. Now, this also was extremely unexpected. Lots of people were saying possibly after all the rituals around the late Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi have been performed, the most suitable person for that position would have been Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. Having said that, there's nothing now that can be done. Maybe something will be done, I don't know. But the problem here is this. Mr. Thulasizwe Buthelezi is a high-ranking member of the IFP. And also, he has, is running a district municipality as a deployee of the IFP. Now, this is a very contested territory case at them. The Zulus were expecting that somebody who could unite Zulus across party political lines would be appointed. It did not happen. Now, what has happened is that the king, in a contested situation, seems to have taken a side, a political side, of the IFP, hosting the IFP a few months before the elections. I don't think that the ruling party and other stakeholders will be impressed by this, because we all thought that he would wait until the Buthelezi people have performed all the necessary rituals. Now, where we are now is a difficult situation because His Majesty, he must remember, is still facing all the court cases. So he's not confirmed 100% as king. What happened is that, and we could say from an analytical point of view, that he has boosted a lot his Zulu royal family opponents, which, by the way, are in the majority compared to his fiction.
Right. Prof, let me apologize to our viewers. Our audio connection to you doesn't seem to be as great, and hopefully it'll stabilize as we continue our discussion. What you're saying is quite interesting because there's obvious questions around the politicization of this role, and perhaps you can speak to that, Prof, as we get a better understanding of why it's important for whoever occupies that role to have an apolitical posture. Because, I mean, let's face it, the person who was in that role themselves was incredibly politicized. I mean, till the moment he died, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi was the emeritus president of the IFP.
Well, the 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, the IFP capitalized on connectivity, connections, and blood connections between Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi and the Zululand family. I remember it went so far as when the IFP launched a trade union Musa in 1986 in Durban. The then king, His Majesty was trying to go there and address an IFP gathering, which was at King's Park Rugby Stadium. But now, as you know, after that, the late king decided that he wanted to take a distance and move towards the center. And towards the end of his life, King Nquthu had made it clear that he was not taking any side in terms of political conflicts of KwaZulu-Natal, and therefore was able to unite the Zulus. Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, yes, but was able at some stage to play neutral. It was always a concern that he was part of the IFP. Now there was a prayer all over that the next Zulu king, the next Zulu traditional prime minister, is going to be found from neutral people. But His Majesty has decided to continue with granting the IFP an advantage over everybody else, which is very disastrous for the province. We know what's going to happen next.
What happens to the stability or lack thereof then in and around the Amazulu royal family? I mean, it shouldn't be lost to us, of course, that there is still this contention about whether or not the committee that actually elected or recommended King Misuzulu kaZwelithini was in fact properly constituted. The matter was litigated in court and it needs to be reconvened according to the courts. So there's a couple of loose ends that exist, and I suppose the question that comes up for people who have an interest in the family is this a step towards or away from the stability that the royal family so desperately needs?
No, it is a step away from stability. Judge Davis this week granted President Cyril Ramaphosa leave to appeal, so the issue will go to Bloemfontein.
Right.
But also granted the Prince Mangosuthu side leave to appeal and King Misuzulu side leave to appeal. So they will be appealing. The problem here is that, as you all know, if a process was not followed, even if it is the right candidate, usually what happens is that a matter is always started from scratch. And that is where the real problem will start. I can foresee this happening, but also we don't know what's going to be the attitude of the ruling party and government now that King Misuzulu has openly decided to side with the IFP in a contested province. So we don't know. The future becomes even more uncertain with this announcement that was made yesterday.
Sure. What a time indeed. Professor Musa Xulu, as always, thanks for giving us your take on these issues. It's certainly a developing story. We'll keep watching as it continues to unfold. Professor Xulu is the founder of Indonsa YeSizwe, also a commentator on cultural and religious issues.